Good morning, Year 11. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. For this lesson, you will need your English literature books, your copy of Dr Hyde, or you can use the attached extracts, also a pen, pencil, and highlighter. Please could you write the date and the title, which is Dr Lanyon's Transformation, presented in Chapter 9. Okay, so for your do now, I would like you to complete the following true or false table. So please could you copy out the table and in the second column, write whether each statement is either true or false. So please pause the video for 5 minutes to do that now. I'll now need to check if you've got the answers correct. So the correct answers are on the PowerPoint slide. Please go through. If you've got anything wrong, please correct it now. Okay, so Dr Lanyon's narrative notes on structure. So remember that this chapter is now a first-person narrative told from Dr Lanyon's perspective. So bear in mind that the majority of the novel uses a third-person vocalized narrator. Remember that means it's third person, so he or she pronouns, and it's through the eyes of a particular character. So think about Harry Potter, those kind of stories. Even though it's not in the first person using the pronoun I, it has information only known to a particular character. The story is viewed through their eyes and reflects on their particular thoughts and emotions about the situation. So the benefit of that particular narration style is you get the sense of intimacy with the character that you might have from a first person, only it's written in third person to give extra distance, and first person can seem quite clunky and quite amateur, so those kind of pitfalls are avoided. So we have a shift from the third person vocalized narrator to first person from using Dr Lanyon's perspective. And it's retelling us information that's happened in chapter 6 and fills in narrative gaps. So I'd like you to read through the information on the slide and make notes on structure if there's anything that you were not aware of. So pause the video now to do that. Okay, so for task 1, I would like you to reread Jekyll's letter to Lanyon and summarise the instructions he gives him. This can be found on pages 56 to 58 of your novel, or you can use extract 1, which is attached as a PDF on class charts. Please pause the video for 12 minutes to do that now. Okay, so please read through the information on the slide to check your answers. If you didn't get everything, please can you amend what you've done so you have everything that's written down on the slide, all 10 points in addition to the PS. Okay, so your next question is, why does Stevenson set Mr Hyde's arrival and transformation at midnight? Please read page 60 or PDF extract 2 and make notes answering this question. So you may have written something along the lines of the following. Midnight has connotations of something spooky or supernatural. A transformation is going to be witnessed. Consider the connotations of the witching hour, ideas of werewolves, the full moon, and so on. So the fact that Stevenson was writing in the Gothic genre really shines through these popular connotations associated with midnight. Consider also the context of it being dark, hidden, isolated, and secret. The mention of the policeman that Hyde makes haste away from indicates he is up to no good. Finally, think about other moments of the text that may well have happened in darkness. For instance, remember that Mr Enfield, when he witnessed the trampling of the young girl, was coming back from some place at the end of the world at around 3 o'clock in the morning, so it would have been dark. Furthermore, the murder of Sir Danvers Carew, as witnessed by the young maid, took place at night as well. So many events taking place at night time. Okay, so next I would like you to complete the table, exploring how science is presented in the transformation. The relevant information can be found on pages 63 to 64 of your novel, or you can use extract 3 attached as a PDF on class charts. So please pause the video for about 10 minutes to copy out the table and fill it in. Okay, so this is the completed version of the table. Do make sure you add in any information that you didn't include initially, and make sure you have all the details copied down. So let's go through it together. 1. Stevenson makes Lanyon give a very precise description of the potion. Evidence began to effervesce audibly and to throw off small fumes of vapour, so very powerful descriptive imagery there. And in terms of the explanation of how it creates an image of Lanyon or Hyde's attitudes towards science, it shows that Lanyon notices small details. He has a scientific mind, recording exactly what takes place. 2. Hyde suggests that scientific knowledge can bring power. A new province of knowledge and new avenues to fame and power shall be laid open to you. Hyde makes it sound like travelling to a new place or province. Knowledge becomes linked with power and fame, suggesting that Hyde assumes others who witness his transformation will feel the same way he does about it. He sees science as a way of achieving his desires, and so through that you can again contrast him with Dr. Lanyon. Dr. Jekyll, though being a doctor and having sworn the Hippocratic oath, the oath not to do harm, is quite self-centred, and whilst he can be exonerated to a certain extent due to the crushing pressures placed on him by Victorian society, you can say he's culpable for his narcissistic attitude and selfishness, especially when contrasted with Dr. Lanyon, who is a more selfless character. I suppose you could say there's no evidence for that, but there's no evidence he's selfish, whereas with Dr. Jekyll, you could argue he certainly is. Especially bearing in mind the tragic effects of his potion on people around him. So moving on to 3, Hyde uses language that implies science will ultimately scare men back to religion. Your sight shall be blasted by a prodigy to stagger the unbelief of Satan. The reference to Satan suggests that Hyde will show him something so terrifying he'll believe Satan himself is present. It suggests that science will instead encourage religion as people realize the true horrendous potential of humans and seek to know God rather than the devil. So please make sure you have this noted down. Witnessing the transformation. What do we find out about Lanyon in this chapter? So please read pages 62 to 65, or you can read extract 4 attached as a PDF, and I would like you to read it and make notes please, answering the question, what we find out about Lanyon. Pause the video for about 8 minutes to do that now. Okay, and finally task 5. What role does Dr. Lanyon play in the text? Please could you answer this question in your books. Pause the video to do that now. He helps Jekyll in his hour of need. He's a loyal friend who perhaps allows things to continue longer than they might have. He tries his best to behave professionally, even in strange circumstances. He's another doctor, a direct contrast to Jekyll, showing Jekyll could have made different choices. He represents scientific traditions that were debated as he disagrees with Jekyll's experimental science. He shows that we all have curiosity, but it can be damaging. He reveals Jekyll's secret identity to the audience, and he shows how horrific Hyde must be. Just witnessing transformation is beyond him. So in terms of the negative or destructive, I would say actually, a stronger word, the destructive effect Mr. Hyde has on people, it seems to develop throughout the novel. So if you're thinking about macro structure, the order of ideas in the novel as a whole, you can talk about at the start, hellish to see, brought out the sweat on me like running is a quote from chapter 1, and then that builds and continues up throughout the novel, and then it kind of accumulates. You have the apotheosis, the developmental high point of that effect of evil on society with the death of Lanyon. So he was dead within 2 weeks of witnessing Mr. Hyde after helping his friend Dr. Jekyll regain his true form. So he is a very significant character, and do bear in mind that in chapter 6 we have key moment, I think it's key moment 3, in your key moments grid, which is his transformation. That's separate to this, which is his own account in chapter 9. So it's really important you're able to distinguish between chapter 6, which is his transformation through the focalized narration of Utterson, contrasted with chapter 9, which is a first-person account of the situation. So do make sure you have those clearly differentiated in your mind. Right, thank you very much for all your hard work today. Tomorrow we have our first Literature Tri-Weekly of the year, which I'm sure you're very excited about. You may have seen on the news today that Gavin Williamson has suggested that there may be mini external exams to be sat in summer for GCSE and A-level students. Obviously, we have no idea what's happening for sure, but in light of these kind of developments, it's so important that you are keeping up with your revision, that you're staying up to date with all your work. I know a lot of you are, and I suppose it's a bit pointless saying this on the video, which you'd only be watching if you were keeping up to date with things, but just well done if you are, because it's a really uncertain situation at the moment, and I would hate for you to be penalised and not get the kind of grades that you should. So, like I say, please do make sure you're keeping up with all your revision, you're doing everything to the best of your ability, you're trying to stay motivated, and I think the best advice I can give is making sure you have some variety in your day. So don't spend more than an hour on any one lesson, make sure you're taking regular breaks, try and do lots of different things. So think of it a bit like circuit training, that's what I do. 1 hour of one thing, 1 hour of another thing, kind of keep moving, keep changing. Otherwise you could end up, spending 3 hours on something when you could have just spent 1 on it. So make sure you've got lots of variety, you're doing different things, you're being efficient, and also taking time to talk to people, reach out to people, and stay connected. Okay, so that's the end of today's lesson. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.